Back in November 2017, Dell launched the Alienware Aurora R7, packing some of the most powerful hardware money could buy into a case that looked like it came straight out of a spaceship, and it had the price tag to match, $2,500. Adjusted for inflation, that's roughly $3,650 today. That's used car money. But here's the interesting part. Today, you don't need anywhere near that much money to own one. Which got me wondering, what happens when 2017's high-end hardware meets 2026? In this video, I'm going to put this Aurora through the most brutal overclocking it's probably ever experienced, push every component as far as I can, and find out if this former gaming monster still has any fight left in it. But first, I need to buy one. I wanted to find one that was as original as possible, with no major repairs or replacement parts. Luckily, this isn't exactly a rare collector's PC, so searching the model name brought up plenty of listings. The difficult part was choosing the right one. As you can see, prices are all over the place because this machine came in several different configurations, and many of the used ones have already had parts replaced or upgraded. I found one for around $300, but just looking at the photos, yeah, this thing had clearly seen better days. There were scratches all over the case and it looked pretty worn out, so I kept searching. About 30 minutes later, I found another one for $380. It's a little more expensive, but look at the condition. Compared to the first one, this thing looks almost new. Alright, I'm buying this one. The only problem was the shipping cost, $100. That's absolutely ridiculous. But as long as the seller doesn't send me a broken PC, I guess we'll be fine. Then I noticed something else. The estimated delivery time was almost 2 weeks. That's a bit of a problem because it could delay this entire video. But considering how large and heavy this thing is, I guess careful shipping takes time. So there wasn't much I could do except wait. And luckily, after about 10 days, the package had been delivered. Oh my god, this box is huge. I'm not even sure if this is the Alienware I ordered, because I usually have way too many packages showing up. But thankfully, yep, that's definitely it. Wait, why does it look like this? This thing is way more scratched up and worn than it looked in the listing photos. I immediately contacted the seller to complain, and ironically, they completely ignored my message. That's pretty disappointing. But to be fair, I can't put all the blame on them. The description did mention that the actual product could differ from the photos. So yeah, that's on me for not paying enough attention. At this point, I just hope the hardware inside hasn't been swapped out too. The outside is a little dusty, but that's not a big deal. I'll give the whole thing a proper cleaning later. The only thing I probably can't fix is all these scratches. It looks like someone may have used this PC lying on its side because both side panels are scratched pretty badly. Luckily though, nothing appears to be cracked or broken. As for the size, it's actually not that big. It might even be smaller than some micro ATX cases. And the design is definitely unusual. I still don't know how Dell keeps coming up with so many different case designs. It feels like every generation of Alienware looks completely different from the one before it. And just look at all these ventilation holes. There's so much open airflow that I have a feeling this thing could get pretty loud under load. So today we're going to completely tear it down, give everything a proper cleaning, and eventually see how far we can push it with overclocking. But first, let's plug it in and find out exactly what hardware is inside this thing. Oh my god. Inside we've got an i7-8700K, an absolute beast of a CPU that a lot of gamers dreamed of owning years ago. It has 6 cores and 12 threads, plus some serious overclocking potential. And in the single-core benchmark, it scores around 475 points. But wait, what is this? I haven't even done anything yet, and the CPU is already hitting 100 degrees Celsius. That's insane. Yeah, I don't think I should benchmark anything right now. At this rate, I'm going to melt the socket before the video even starts. So before doing any testing, I'm going to tear this thing apart and give it a complete cleaning. One interesting thing about this Alienware is its toolless design. You can open the side panel and swing the entire power supply out of the way without dealing with a bunch of screws. Opening this thing almost feels like opening a car door. And if you're wondering how the LED strips on the side panels get power, here's the answer. They use these contact points, so when the panel closes against the chassis, the LEDs automatically make their connection. Oh my god. The inside actually made me stop for a second. One look at this CPU cooler and I think I understand why the processor was running so hot. I'm not trying to hate on it, but this looks more like the kind of basic cooler you'd expect in an office PC. It's definitely not ideal for heavy gaming, let alone overclocking an 8700K. Alright, let's start taking everything apart. And here we have the GPU, a GTX 1080 Ti Founders Edition. This card is basically considered one of the greatest GPUs of all time, although this particular one has definitely seen some use. There are a few scratches on the outside, but nothing too serious. Inside, though, there's quite a bit of dust. Oh my god, there's even a dead mosquito trapped in the heatsink. Don't worry, buddy. I'll get you out of this monster later. Next, I need to disconnect all the cables from the motherboard so I can remove the power supply. And it's becoming pretty obvious that Dell didn't exactly want people casually swapping parts in this machine. There are proprietary solutions everywhere. The shape, the mounting system, the connectors, even the cable links. Everything feels specifically designed around this chassis. The power supply itself is rated at 850 watts though, so at least power capacity shouldn't be something I need to worry about when pushing this machine to its limits. Next, I'm removing the RAM. We've got two 8GB sticks running at 2666 MHz, giving us 16 GB in total. And here's that basic CPU cooler I mentioned earlier. This is probably the main reason the CPU was constantly overheating. And once I removed it, yeah, the thermal paste is completely dried out. It looks like nobody has given this machine any real maintenance in a very long time. Next, I'm taking the motherboard out, and I immediately notice something strange. It looks like someone has removed the heat sinks from two of the VRM areas. That's definitely something I wish was still here. On the bright side, this motherboard has more USB ports than I'll probably ever use in my life. But then I found something else missing. The top exhaust fan is completely gone. Why would someone remove it? Your guess is as good as mine. So unfortunately, this machine isn't quite as original and complete as I was hoping. But these missing parts aren't enough to ruin the project, so I'm going to let it slide. The important components are still here and intact. Now it's time to completely strip down the case. Like I mentioned earlier, this machine uses a mostly toolless design, so a lot of the exterior panels are held in place by plastic clips rather than screws. I'll start with the side panel, and the removal order is completely different from most PCs I've worked on before. Next comes the top panel. To remove it, I first have to release all these little clips hooked into the metal chassis. Once they're free, the panel comes right off. Then I'll repeat the same process on the other side. After that, all that's left is removing the remaining cables and hardware from the chassis. And after about an hour, I finally have the entire machine completely stripped down. Now I'm going to separate everything into two groups. The plastic panels and bare chassis are getting a proper wash. Everything else will only be cleaned by hand, because moisture inside the electronics could potentially lead to a short circuit, or even something much worse, and turning this restoration into a completely different kind of video. Well, I think it's time for this thing to be cleansed. After this, hopefully it can start a better second life. Overall, it's really not that dirty. There's just some dust stuck to the surfaces, but it's still getting a bath. You know, my last video about pushing Minecraft realism was actually a lot of fun to make, but I still feel like I didn't take it far enough. So maybe sometime in the future, I'll come back to that idea and go much deeper. My knowledge of Minecraft is still pretty limited though, so if you guys have any ideas or things I should try next time, I'd love to learn from you in the comments. Damn it, now I'm getting excited about it again. Anyway, bath time is over. Let's put these parts out in the sun and let them dry. While I'm waiting, I'll clean everything else, and there's one urgent mission I need to take care of first. Rescuing that poor mosquito from the graphics card. Alright, let's tear this 1080 apart. So many screws. Why am I suddenly getting deja vu? At this rate, my screw box is going to be a little fuller by the end of this video. And... oh man, that's a lot of dust. Oops, almost forgot the important part. Let's get our little mosquito friend out of there first. Rescue mission successful. Now back to the GPU. Judging by the condition inside, it looks like this card may have never been opened since it left the factory. And just like the CPU, the thermal paste has completely dried out. So before putting this card through any serious testing, I'm going to clean out all the dust and apply fresh thermal paste. That should give it the best chance of running smoothly without temperature becoming a problem. Alright, done. Let's put everything back together. Perfect. If someone told me this GPU had only been used a few times since it was manufactured, I'd probably believe them, or maybe not. Next up is the power supply. Aside from some oxidation on the outside, it's actually pretty clean. And when I opened it up, I was even more surprised. There's barely anything to clean in here. But since I've already gone through the trouble of opening it, I'll give it a quick brush anyway. You know, just so I can pretend this wasn't completely unnecessary. Finally, I'll wipe down every cable, remove the remaining dust, and clean the CPU cooler. Hopefully this thing can keep the CPU at least a little cooler once I start putting this machine through some serious stress tests. And we're done! Time to put this Alienware back together. Interestingly, reassembly only took me about 1/3 of the time I spent figuring out how to take it apart. Who would have thought it would be that easy? Wait, Oh man, I just remembered the motherboard has been sitting in the corner this entire time while I cleaned everything else. Luckily, it isn't particularly dirty, so I'll give it a quick brush, apply some fresh thermal paste to the CPU, finish putting everything back together, and done. Now let's power it on. I'm kidding. Everything went perfectly. The first thing I want to check after getting into Windows is the CPU temperature. And look at that. We're sitting at around 50 degrees Celsius. That's roughly half the temperature we were seeing before the cleaning. Much better. Now I can finally feel a little more comfortable putting this machine through the brutal tests I have planned next. No more talking. Let's start with the first game, Minecraft. For this hardware, Minecraft is obviously no challenge. Everything runs smoothly, but look at that CPU temperature. It immediately jumps past 80 degrees Celsius, gets close to 90 degrees Celsius, and at one point even touches 100 degrees Celsius, and the whole PC sounds like it's about to take off. Yeah, this isn't good. I need to cool this CPU down right now. Since space inside the case is extremely limited, I'm replacing the stock cooler with this low-profile cooler. It's still compact, but should perform much better. And immediately, that's a huge improvement. Temperatures are noticeably lower, sitting just above 70 degrees Celsius, and thankfully, the machine isn't screaming at me anymore. Now let's try something a little heavier. Cyberpunk 2077. Everything is still under control. Temperatures have climbed again, but with an i7-8700K and GTX 1080 Ti, that's not exactly surprising. At least now I can start pushing this machine without constantly worrying about cooking the CPU. So let's find out where its limit actually is. First, I need to enter the BIOS and enable overclocking. Alienware already provides 2 preset overclocking profiles. And since this is a K-series CPU, I definitely didn't buy it just to run at stock speeds. So I'm skipping LV1 and going straight to LV2, 4.8 GHz. And to keep things interesting, I'll overclock the GTX 1080 Ti as well, starting with a pretty mild 5% overclock. Then I loaded Cyberpunk with everything set to high to put some serious stress on the system. Performance improved, but temperatures climbed even faster, and we're only getting started. Next, I pushed the CPU another 100 MHz. That doesn't sound like much, but the closer you get to the limit, the harder every extra 100 MHz becomes. I also pushed the GPU another 5%. This time, the improvement was much more noticeable, and luckily both the CPU and GPU were still running perfectly. Except for one thing, my electricity bill. The 1080 Ti alone is pulling almost 250 watts. At this point, I could stop. 4.9 GHz is already significantly faster than stock, and the temperatures aren't exactly pretty anymore. But we're only 100 MHz away from a very special number. 5 GHz, so obviously I had to try. By now the GPU was also getting close to its limit, running at nearly 15% above stock. And this is where things stopped going smoothly. The moment I launched the game, the entire PC froze. Nothing worked, so I had no choice but to force a restart. But I wasn't giving up yet. I tried again, and got rejected a second time. Except this time, the PC actually gave me a warning. Basically, stop it. At this point, I wasn't sure whether the CPU or GPU was causing the instability. So I reset the GPU and tested the CPU overclock by itself. And seriously, it worked. Apparently the GPU was the main culprit. I actually managed to run the CPU at 5.0 GHz in-game. But there was definitely a price to pay. Temperatures shot up to nearly 100 degrees Celsius, and the CPU finally started showing signs of thermal throttling. And I think that's it. I finally found the limit of this Alienware. Honestly, for the price I paid, I think I got a steal. I mean, this thing came with a GTX 1080 Ti Founders Edition. An absolute legend from NVIDIA's Pascal era. That card alone almost makes the entire PC worth it.